Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
Hello, I am Carol from Ulua, and in this case I want to talk about creativity because I think it will set the basis for our next episodes and the ones to come. We will be talking about creativity a lot, so that's why I want to set some ideas first. So, what is creativity? According to the Dr. or Professor McKinnon from the University of Berkeley in the 70s, he did extensive studies about creativity and how it relates to intelligence and so many things. But basically, what we will extract from that is that he said creativity is the ability to play. And it has nothing to do with IQ, with intelligence, with anything. It's just a person's ability to play. So, in these times, I think we need more than ever to be creative because we live on uncertain times. We don't know what will happen with AI. We don't know what will happen with the world in general, with economy, with different crises, war, and everything that's going on in the world. So, if we want to be creative, this is the time to start creating things or starting to think creatively. And because we like it or not, life will happen no matter what. And even though our plans or your plans may be great, life will always come first, and sometimes shit happens and you have to adapt. So by accepting and adapting little by little, you are creating and you are becoming a little bit more creative every day. As Bob Ross used to say, accept these happy little accidents that happen in life. Creativity is what connects us as people, as human beings. And nowadays, at least it's what I see. Maybe you see something different, but I can see every day more and more people that are totally disconnected. They are living in their own mind. They are living, or maybe being around only people that are like-minded. There is nothing bad about that, but if you are only surrounded by the same kind of people all the time, it's different for you to open to other possibilities. So I think that's important to have in mind. And creativity also makes you tolerant, makes you more compassionate, makes you an empath, or at least it takes you closer to that. Even creativity doesn't have to be you creating things, maybe just by reading other things that other creatives have done. For example, reading different books, seeing different movies. You become to understand other people's way of thinking, hopefully. You can learn from those things, and you can experience also things from other people's perspective. For example, when you are watching a movie, you can maybe identify with the villain or with the good guy, or maybe you, by not identifying, but you can also understand how they are thinking in the moment because of the actions they are making. And that is something really nice that I have seen play in my own life, for example, when performing or when improvising at acting classes. It's really super interesting because you put yourself in the shoes and in the skin of other people that you may have known somehow, and sometimes you are also playing someone who you really despise, but you become more compassionate and more empathic with them and can somehow understand how those people that maybe you don't really like, or maybe you think you will never do something like that, and somehow in their skin the things they do, it makes sense. So it helps you with that. It helps you be more compassionate and be more understanding of others, even if you don't agree with those people, but you can somehow understand them. That's another thing that comes with creativity. Maybe you can experience creativity on your own, as I was saying, playing somebody else, or also you can experience it through other people's play, those kind of things. And it comes to mind that when the Greeks did these huge Dionysic parties, they used to have some place where people come, and these places were on the streets, and they have huge masks, and they were playing different gods, the good, the bad, the evil, the normal person. And you, as they say, of course I was not there, but they said that when you experience those kind of things, they could have even a catharsis. They could understand. In catharsis was understanding different points of view, and seeing what was happening from the God's perspective and from the normal people perspective, from the evil for the good, and that kind of thing. So I think that is really interesting. And also creativity is amoral. It doesn't have morality in itself. It's atypical, it's different. It's atheist, you could say. It doesn't attach itself to a belief or religion, so it's free from beliefs, and that's something also that can help us understand other people. Because if we have certain morality, which I'm not saying it's just for the purpose of creativity, right? I'm not saying be immoral or anything like that. You be what you want to be, but sometimes when we are playing, because in creativity we are playing, for example, we are improvising and we're playing a killer, we're playing a cop, or we're playing, I don't know, so many different things that we could play, but generally it's the bad or the good guy. And we can, as I said before, be in their shoes. And when you are in the shoes of an evil person, let's call it evil, from the moral perspective, whatever it is, your moral perspective, or the sinner, it's really interesting because you can find, even though, as I was saying before, maybe you say, I would never do that as a person, but you can actually play that, because we all have, as human beings inside of us, those same feelings, and we have those same ways or possibilities, because we have the same possibilities in us. Maybe we just decide not to use them, but you can play with them as long as you don't hurt anybody. I think that's why creativity is really important for us, especially, as I was saying, nowadays when we have so many things going around in the world. So, given our circumstances, don't you think this skill of creativity is super necessary today due to global happenings? I do think it's important to be creative nowadays. Yeah, I know that the name of this episode is like dopamine is killing creativity. It's partly true. It's not completely true, of course, or at least I couldn't say 100% true. But I do think it is a major killer nowadays in our present context. What's killing our creativity, and why is that? Because we are you are all day surrounded with stimuli all the time, with social media, with urgency, with having to immediately respond some people, because if not, it seems that we don't care about them, we aren't the best employees if we are not just replying everyone constantly, our clients, our parents, our spouses. Everyone is used to others replying constantly and being present, quote unquote, all the time. And I want to cite here Dr. Kate, who is a medic, neuroscientist, psychologist, monk, medic, I don't know, he's so many things. And he backs it up with science. Of course, I will only cite a little bit of what he says. But he said, for example, that social media, its algorithms are prepared or are developed for us to be constantly bombarded by information. And so our brains shuts off, so we can continue doom scrolling, reel after reel, short after short. And we are constantly bombarded with this dopamine that is giving us stimuli in little doses, but all the time. So in large doses, I think that social media just can kill your creativity. This constant bombarding of dopamine. So in a way, yes, you could say that social media is holding you back from your creativity when, of course, consumed in large doses. If you are only just 15 minutes a day, I don't know, maybe that's not that harmful for you. But in large doses, if you are all the time scrolling, doom scrolling social media, and you want to be creative at the same time, that's gonna be hard for you. Because creativity takes time. It takes time, patience, boredom, quietness, all the opposite to this constant bombarding of dopamine. And we are constantly being stimulated by, we need everything has to be now, has to be urgent, it has to be taken care of right now, or maybe yesterday. So you are click here, click there, split screen video content, because nowadays apparently you cannot no longer see just one. You need to see two videos on the same screen at the same time, maybe have several screens in your computer or your setup or several phones. So you are constantly under pressure of having to know what's going on around. There's another concept that's called FOMO, fear of missing out, but I won't be talking about that now because I want to focus more on creativity. And it's funny because the other day, for example, I was mentioned about some MIT courses that they were given for free about entrepreneurship. And I was just looking at the promo video because I thought maybe that's kind of interesting. I'd like to know more about. And I was looking at the promo video, and for me, I will speak for me, it was unbearable. I watched 1 minute and 30 approximately of the video. That was the whole amount of video, 1 minute 30, and it was constant interruption. It was the girl started telling, "You want to become an entrepreneur," and then another scene and another scene and another scene, and constantly interruptions and things going on. And yeah, maybe that's what people want right now. I'm not sure. Maybe that's what some people want in the world, to be catchy. I don't know, but I think that our brain doesn't have the time to process the info coming. Well, I mean, just the promo video, maybe just, well, okay, you can even decide not to watch it. But it gave me the impression, I didn't see the whole course, I haven't seen it, but it just gave me that first impression of maybe I won't have a deep dive into the things I really want to learn from this course. Again, that was my idea. Because our brain needs time to process and all the info that is coming to us. But when you're doom scrolling, you don't have to think about that. Where you are just getting information in whole amounts and your brain is just shut off. Yeah, and I have nothing against the MIT. I think it's a great university and everything, but really was kind of funny for me to discover that. I don't have TikTok either. I mean, I have an account, but I don't use it. I have taken this out from my phone. So, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on TikTok or anything. Maybe you enjoy that and that's perfect. But for me, it was just a distraction that I wanted to take out. I agree that maybe when I was studying, because I'm kind of old, I'm 46, when I was studying, things were too slow. We even had to learn, for example, programming, because I have a background in technology, and I am a programmer. I was a programmer. I don't program now. Even for programming, we didn't have to study from books. I was fortunate because I did have a computer at the time when I was 14 years old, and even before I had access to computers because my dad was a programmer too. So I've been around for a long time with technology. But most of my colleagues or the other students didn't have a computer. So they had to program everything on paper. I did also things on paper, and then I came back home and I put on the computer the program I was doing, and I could try new things and that, because I was, as I said, fortunate. But the rest of my colleagues didn't and couldn't do that. So everything was super slow at the time. And I know, maybe we were too slow. Maybe, I don't know. For sure, we had to be patient. There was no other option, because if you really wanted to learn, you had to put on the time, be sitting, reading, having different books. I remember the living room was also full of books because I was always reading things, learning from here, learning from there. We have a huge library in our home. You had to actually read. You didn't have audiobooks, for example, at the time. I even remember books, for example, at university, they were super complex. They were about calculus and that kind of thing, and very complex equations, that kind of thing. And you had to read the books and try to understand by yourself. So it took a long time to really understand things. But I don't want to bore you with this. But yeah, so learning and creativity takes time because you have to connect things that may seem disconnected sometimes and to dissemble between each other and get them together and make something out of that. On the other hand, for example, I have recently found many artists that I like and some designers who are really focused on creating, and they don't use social media that much, or they have reduced their interactions because they cannot concentrate with this constant stimuli. And another thing I have found recently also is that, for example, you may have noticed too, because it's super noticeable if you're paying attention, that when you, for example, look for a cat video, and immediately in YouTube start to have you can start to come across all cat videos, funny cat videos, and that kind of thing. And the algorithm believe that, or are programmed to understand that what you want to do is watch videos of cats. Hate that. I hate that because I want to see different things. I don't like seeing the same thing over and over again. It has been kind of harder for me to find things that I really like. And I was watching a designer. She does really very beautiful things and designs. And I was watching her process, and she said, for example, I don't use Pinterest because Pinterest, once you search for something, everything starts to come the same way. For example, you look for antiques, and everything is about antiques, and you cannot change that because it's part of the way it's programmed. So she said, okay, so what I do is something, I have many books about different things that I like, texture, things that inspire me, and I put everything about in my table. Just the thing I was mentioning that I did when I was young. I had all the books on the table, and she starts looking from different designs, from different epochs, from different authors, poems, songs, drawings, I don't know, pieces of knitting, several things. So she takes out something from that. That's what I call also when I'm working like that. When I'm researching something, I tend to go to different places and see different things, and I call it investigation a la Francis Bacon because Francis Bacon had a huge messy room where he had everything lying around and he took something from here, something from there. And I'm not saying you have to have a messy room, but maybe just for the purpose of research you can read several books at a time. You can see different images and things to spark your creation. That is something that actually algorithms are not doing right now. Or, I mean, there are platforms that they have a purpose, which is to sell, to give you publicity, to advertise things, and for their purposes, they are creating the algorithm, which I think is okay because it's their own space or their own creation. But for us, if you want to be creative, maybe social media and this kind of platform are not really helping you to expose to different things. It's giving you no variety. So, if you're a curious person like me, this is getting like super boring and monotonous. But because creativity is about variety, things with new eyes, taking diverse things into working together, playing with the similar stuff and making them something new, it is important for yourself to be exposed to diverse environment, ideas, textures, sounds, colors, you name it. Another thing is, if you want to be creative, you need to be immersed into the exposition. Not just touch the surface. Not just watch it 2 seconds or 1 minute, like it happens with shorts on reels. You have to deep dive. You have to immerse yourself. It means absorbing the whole experience. And that might take an hour or more sometimes. So yeah, that's a reflection. And I would really like to know what you think about that. If you are a creative person, maybe you can resonate with me. And if you don't, please tell me also what you think about what I'm saying. Maybe you think, no, but I still can find things on social media that can really help me. So please tell me, where are you finding those kind of things? Well, most importantly of all, now we can talk about how you can be more creative. We said something about absorbing, exploring possibilities, absorbing things from different disciplines, practice different disciplines, or if you're not practicing different disciplines, look for other people doing their discipline and trying to understand what is there that they're doing, and also keep in mind that when other people are pros, maybe you won't find all the details or all the hints that you really need to learn those skills, because the pro is just for him or for her. For them, it's natural to do the things, right? So, for example, when I see somebody dancing and they are a professional dancer, you may even be tempted to say, "Oh, but I can do that," and you go back home and realize that you don't have the skill because they have practiced for hours and hours. Even though if it seems super simple. There's a meme also about that it comes to mind, that is about drawing an O. You know, it says, drew at first, step number 1, draw 2 circles, one on top of the other. And the next image is, draw the rest of the fucking O. So yeah, it's when you're just starting, maybe you need to put on the hours and try to figure out how to do things. And if it's your interest, of course. But also, it could be interesting, as I was saying, just to look at what other people are doing. And maybe that can give you a little hint on what you could use for your own art or your own creative process. And another tip is, you need to set aside some time, some quiet time for you with no interruptions. At least, according to Sean Cleese, if you have ever watched Monty Python, for example, he was one of the persons that were in the team of Monty Python. He's super creative, and he explains that you have to have at least an hour and a half per week with no interruptions at all. Because interruptions are also creativity killers. It's the same as dopamine. You have something coming all the time and interrupting your thoughts. You cannot be creative. You cannot take the time to be creative. He said something funny, because he said, even if you have 1 hour and a half for yourself, and during the first hour it doesn't happen anything at all, and you can't come with even one creative idea, maybe you are lucky in the next half hour. So just take your time. Another thing that can also be of help for you, it's keeping a journal. I struggled a lot with journals at first, and I thought for many years that it was a stupid idea, because I thought that because I couldn't keep up with my journal. But with time, it has proven to be of good use. Even if I don't have a standard artistic journal, but I do have some places where I concentrate all the information and all the things that I've been thinking of, because all the best ideas you will have happen when you are about to sleep, when you are out walking on the street, or when you are showering. I haven't figured out exactly now how to record things from the shower, but at least when I go walking and I don't have a paper or anything, what I do now is send myself a message over the phone. So that's another way. And then I come back and I compile it into my my notes. Actually, I have one now that I have to put here. So, well, anyways, yeah. So keep a place, maybe an app or whatever it is that you can find useful for you. Keep your ideas or sketches or drawings, whatever comes to your mind. You can also practice mindset diversity. I talk a lot about mindset diversity too, because I think when you can relate or you can be with people that are different from you, not only being with like-minded people, which is good and is refreshing and everything, but when you meet with people, for example, like in a class or a workshop or somewhere where you don't select who are the ones that will be present, you will find a diversity of people, a diversity of thinking, a diversity of mindset. Some can be more annoying than others, maybe. Some can be more likable than others. But you will experience this difference. And you can also learn from that. Just as if you are playing somebody else's, some other character that's totally different from you, you will surely, if you pay attention and if you are open enough, you will surely understand something about the others and about yourself and about the interaction itself. Keep your eyes open for new insights from people that are different from you. You don't have to put up with them all the time. Maybe just by these short interactions, you can have some learnings. For example, when I was taking impro classes, the teacher used to say, look at the people on the street, how they walk, how they talk, how they move, and that kind of thing. And we, not in a creepy way, of course, please, but by looking at others, looking at how they behave, and that even at the office and other places, you can absorb so many learnings from other people, and you can also be tolerant. You start to be more tolerant, you start to understand that other people have their own lives and have their own mindset and their own way of thinking. By being around other people, you can have new ideas for yourself. When I was working with a team of artists in a company, there were designers, but mostly artists. These people were totally different at the time to what I had been exposed to in my early life, especially in a company, because sometimes in a company you think, oh, everyone will be super formal and will be dressing in a formal way, and it was totally different here. Even in that situation, I could notice how the artists did leave aside people who were more quote-unquote rational. Because they were, for example, the artists were wearing, I don't know, they had their hair in colors, they had their more relaxed casual wear, and however, these most like quote-unquote rational people were wearing suits, for example. And so I could see the other side. In general, in companies, we see, okay, if someone appears and they have their hair painted color green, I won't stay with that people because they are different. And it also happened the other way. So I say how we can benefit so much of being around everybody, with different people. If you have traveled, for example, to other places, I had the opportunity to live in Indonesia while I was working there, and I was the odd one. Because I came from the other part of the world and I was totally different and they were totally different from me, from my costumes and the things I used to say or do. Now they were completely the opposite in this country. And I learned a lot about that. and also about the culture, how those differences, actually they saw me like the odd person because I was, Westerner, and they weren't that used to Westerners. Being the odd, being the weird one, you can also learn a lot of things about yourself, about your interactions with others, and how this preconcept that we have from other people is like the others and me, or the others and we. That kind of thing can also ignite different ideas for you, for your art, for whatever it is that you are doing. Maybe you're writing a book about culture, and by immersing yourself in a totally different culture, you can understand a new way of thinking. So yeah, I think it's really important to immerse yourself and to practice that mindset diversity and not say, oh no, they're different, so I don't like them. Let's just leave it at that. But stay curious and be open to understanding why they are different and what it is that's different that they're doing. These are some things you can do to be more creative. Also, as I mentioned before, please keep your phone off when you are immersing into some activity, if you can. Sometimes you can't, but because the less distractions you have, the better you will be able to deep dive into this experience, the full experience, and you will get this way the full benefits of the creative process. Okay, so just to wrap up a little bit, we talk about the extremes now. We talk about why dopamine is killing our creativity, we could say, on one side, and how social media is draining us from our attention. And on the other side, I talk about also creatives who don't pay that much attention to social media, and maybe they go offline to do their research and to do their activities. So let's find a middle point, and that is actually the one I'm interested in, this mindset diversity. I think that by mixing the two of those worlds, we can actually have a richer or nurtured experience from both sides, and maybe create better things, and also understand each other, understand each side. I want to say that I'm not against technology, because as I said in some parts, I came from a technology background, and I think that technology has helped us a lot as a society, as people, and also things are a bit easier now. For example, for studying, you don't have to spend years and years trying to understand something, because just by watching a video you can understand things much more rapidly, much more easily. Maybe sometimes it's easier to digest, but at the same time I think technology is a great and super useful tool, but it has to be wisely applied. So that's my message, that don't go to the extremes, just find the middle point and practice mind diversity. Thank you. Shukran lakum. Muito obrigada. Thank you again, and see you in the next episode.
Stay tuned for Uluwa's next episode.